friends. Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 61. I am Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and thanks for joining me this Thursday evening. It's Thursday, October 27th. As those of you who watched last week know, I was away last weekend, and so I recorded last Thursday, and I'm going to be away tomorrow and Saturday, so I'm recording today. And one of the factors of being away is less time for not just recording, but doing the things that the recording consists of, as in cross-stitch and other projects and even variety show elements. Because, of course, as you know, Flosstube means cross-stitch and variety show means something else. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens tonight. So I have done a little cross-stitch, and I realized I set this camera going with, let's say, less than even my usual preparation for making a video, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm going to say that it probably won't be as long as it probably won't be as long as last week. That was rather shocking for me. But who knows? Maybe it will be. So I'm going to first show you a little cross stitch. This is Eliza Stringer, age 6. It's reproduced by Hands Across the Sea samplers. And we know very little about it. They have on purpose not told us much about this sampler because it's not a published sampler. It was provided to the people who will be attending the Great British Sampler Weekend next fall, of which I am privileged to be one of them, for which, and this is how far I am since I last saw you. I did that last layer of capital letters and finished out some of the borders and worked on that next border. And as you see, let me try to get the light better. It's a little hard. I didn't make any attempt to flatten this out. E, H, and W, which are my initials, are stitched in a tan color. So that's how I'm going to sign this sampler. So I'm done with the capital letters, which are here, and then next are some small letters, and then this border, which this chart is not, there are no colors given, so we were each choosing our own colors. So I chose primarily red and pink and a green and this tan color. And my plan for that flower border is to do the stems and those little stylized leaves in the green color, and also the bottom of each of those oval type shapes in green, one stitch width, and then do a little bit of it in pink and then center out the top in the red. And so I'm interpreting that as flower buds. And then what comes after that is this verse, which is from 1 John. And I feel as if that's it's a lovely verse. It's from the Bible, so that right there gives it some credence. But that is not my favorite verse in the Bible. And I counted, I think it has 68 characters or 66 characters. So I'm considering whether I would try to stick something else in there that is more of my favorite. And so I would be departing from this being a reproduction sampler at that point. And really, since I've chosen my own colors, it's not a reproduction sampler anyway. That's the second point. And a third point is, let's just say that Eliza Stringer, age 6, had a sister, a twin sister even, named Josephine Stringer, age 6. And if Eliza and Josephine were both being taught how to do cross-stitch by their mother or their nurse or their governess or something, it might well be that Eliza would have been given this verse to stitch and Josephine would have been given a different verse to stitch, so that their samplers would not be identical, even if they were identical. So I don't feel obligated to do exactly what the chart says anytime, but especially in this case. So I have to think about that. And one of the bad things about having to think about something is it means slower progress. So, because thinking takes time. I know, it seems odd, doesn't it? Thinking also uses calories. Isn't that wonderful? I'm happy about that. So another thing I want to show you in cross stitch is the sampler number 193, which I'm going to go ahead and show this to you. I did quite a bit this past couple weeks. No, one week. I had sort of started up in this section here, but I did a bunch of these. What are those? Exclamation points. And I finished out these cross-shaped ornaments, and I started in on this thing. And I will show you in just a moment. So this is where I am. I'm heading toward that corner. And this little bit of stitching right here, is the lower of 3 solid rows of stitching, which is the border. And I used Pattern Keeper for this. Pattern Keeper is an app that only runs on Android, which lets you, well, that was a bit odd. That hasn't happened in quite a while. The camera just turned off, and I'm going to bet that there was some timer set. I thought I had fixed that setting. It hasn't done that in months. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. In the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee and Virginia, but I'm thinking mostly of North Carolina, are very popular destination in the fall, because in this part of the country, especially south of here, you don't necessarily have a great fall color season the way you do in New England and in the Northeast of the United States and in parts of the West. New England is known for its fall color, brilliant reds of maples, and Canada is known, and New York State. And the South is not really known for brilliant fall color. It's more known for beautiful weather and for mild winters, which we do have kind of mild winters here. So I'd asked our son and daughter-in-law, who live in the mountains of North Carolina, so what day of the week during fall color season would be good for us to come and see the colors and maybe take you out for dinner? And he said, "Mom, don't come. Because he said, it's insane. It's, bumper to bumper traffic, and just everything is too crowded." Well, of course, during the COVID time, we didn't even think of it, because it just seemed like that is an unnecessary excursion. But here I was going with some friends to the North Carolina mountains at the peak of color, of fall color for this area. And Scott was right. Bumper to bumper traffic, crowds everywhere, restaurants crowded. We tried maybe 3 months in advance to get a reservation for dinner at a really nice restaurant in Asheville. And we could get one, but not for dinner. In fact, we couldn't even get one for lunch. We had to get one at 11 a.m., which is when they opened. So that was kind of funny. It was delicious, though. But anyway, we did enjoy ourselves, and we saw lots of beautiful color. I have, as I mentioned, I was going to put a few pictures in once I stitch these 2 videos together, and you'll be able to see what I saw this weekend a little bit anyway. One of the interesting features about the mountains of North Carolina is that there's a lot of wild area. In fact, it's more wild than developed by a long shot. And that means wild animals, and that in particular means black bears. And there are all kinds of instructions about don't leave food in your car, don't leave gum in your car, don't leave toothpaste in your car. Anything that smells like food or a food item, food element, can attract bears, and bears can rip open your car even if it's locked. And 3 years ago, I think the first year we went up as a group of women friends, one of our number had 6 or so months before spilled something in her car, and she had cleaned it. And if you would sit in her car, you wouldn't smell it. But there were bear footprints on her car when we got up the second morning that we were there. So the bear situation is real. Of course, they're not going to come in your house if your doors are closed. But that did mean if you eat outside, take all your plates and so forth in, which someone in our group left their plate downstairs, no bears came. That person possibly was me. I can't really remember. I hate that, but we had a fire pit, and they have a sauna, not a sauna, a hot tub, technically. A sauna is something different, I think. And we went shopping, and we ate far too much, had a nice time. And I bought some yarn because insanity struck me. But theoretically, I'm going to make a scarf for my cousin for Christmas, which means Christmas is less than 2 months away. Yeah. So that is what I did last weekend. This coming weekend, I mentioned before, we're going to go down to see our nephew play football and hope to have lunch with our son and daughter-in-law on the way home, meeting at a place that's convenient to our path back, and they're not too far from where they live. So we'll do that. It's supposed to be beautiful weather, high in the 70s, low 70s, and beautiful night for football, high school football. Our nephew is a senior, and he is a defensive linebacker, I think is the term. I know so much more about other sports than I do about football, especially because when I was a child, they had different names for the positions and probably different strategies and different ways of playing the game. So I don't remember what the terms were for the defensive players when I was a child, but I'm pretty sure linebacker wasn't one of them, but maybe it was. Anyway, there's that going on, which will also mean a couple of things. One is I'm going to take this Halo Go with me to work on something in the hotel room after the football game. And it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because that is one of the purposes I've bought it for. So there's that. But it means, for the most part, 2 days of no cross-stitching or quilting and so forth. The other thing I've been doing this week is I have started working on a quilt for my newest great-nephew, who was born about a month ago. I am making an airplane quilt, and I am using a pattern from Missouri Star Quilt Company that Jenny Doan showed on a video within the past couple of months, I would say. And so that's kind of fun. Her quilt was it was a pretty big quilt. It wasn't designed as a baby quilt. And I'm not really going to make this baby quilt size. I'm going to make it a size of a quilt that the baby will use once he becomes a child. I mean, he is a child, but you know what I mean, when he's not a baby anymore. And we'll see how that works. I have to make some decisions about how many blocks. And the way they're lined up in the quilt, they have to be they should be staggered from each other, offset from each other. So it's nice to have an odd number of columns of airplanes, which means you either make a quilt that's, say, 9 blocks or 12 blocks, which would be kind of a odd proportion, or you would make one that's 20 blocks, which would be a better proportion. But of course, that's a lot more blocks. But, you know, I think it's going fine right now. I think the picture that I am able to show you shows 9 blocks, and I have made at least one more today and cut the fabric for 2 more, so that would bring me up to 12. So if I were going to make 20 altogether, it would be 2 more days worth of cutting and sewing to make the blocks, and then I would do the setting of them. And I can't remember exactly whether there's a sashing that goes between the airplanes, and then I'll decide what type of border to put around it. But that'll be fun to do. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention. If you look at my description box, you may notice it being that it's a little different from what it used to be. So YouTube is very concerned about everybody's safety, which I think is excellent. I'm glad they are. They have some pretty strict practices in place that prevent you from putting something up that could harm somebody else inadvertently or advertently. Is that a word? And the other day, maybe 2 weeks ago, I got an email from them saying that they had removed some of my content. And it turns out that what they removed was a link that I had put in the description box to a particular quilt shop, not Missouri Star Quilting, another one. And I thought, well, that's very strange because this is a quilt shop that I have bought things from, not recently to be sure, but I have. So I clicked on, I went to the address, and there was a warning all over it saying this may be spam, and if you keep going, you may be subjecting yourself to your computer being harmed and viruses and Trojan horses and whatever. So I didn't click any farther, and I appreciate that YouTube removed that link. And what I decided was any link, even to the most reputable of locations, is potentially subject to what happened to the link that YouTube removed, which is that if the person who is controlling that web address doesn't protect it, it can be corrupted and taken over in such ways to harm people who click on it. And if YouTube finds out about it, they will remove the link from my video. And what that would result in for me is that I would stop having certain YouTube privileges. Now, some of them are the privilege of posting videos, which I would be sad to not be able to do. Some of them are the privilege of commenting on videos as myself, as the current person who comments, the ID under which I comment on videos. And I comment on a lot of videos that I watch because I enjoy reading comments on my videos, and I'm sure that these other people enjoy reading comments on their videos. It just seems like it's a courtesy that I would like to extend. I'm not trying to tell you people to all comment. You don't have, that's not where I'm going with this. But for me, it's a courtesy to extend to the channels that I watch regularly. And so I decided that my defense on this is going to be to not put any links in my description box anymore. But I will try to give enough information that you can find things by searching for them in some reasonable way. So you won't be able to just click on the link and be taken straight to Missouri Star Quilt Company.com, but I will tell you how to find Missouri Star Quilt Company.com on the internet. And I now have a little more sympathy for some of the Flosstube channels that I watch where they put minimum information in their description box. And I think the reason that they do that is, for one thing, it takes some time to research that and prepare the contents of description box, which I know from having, I still do the research for my channel, and I know that it takes some time, but also because they are more at risk of something happening to someone that they have linked to that will actually harm their YouTube presence and experience. So that's why you won't find any links anymore. So don't get up in arms about YouTube. It's good. It is a good thing that they do this. It is helpful to all of us for them to do this. And I hope that I won't run afoul of it in some other description box. I thought about, should I go back through my description boxes of the previous 59 videos at that point and take out all the links. And I didn't. I haven't done it. I don't know. I don't know what to do about that. I haven't done it yet. It's possible. I would have to reload the description field, which doesn't take forever. It is fairly quick to do, but yeah. So that's why you won't find links. So I'm really sorry for those of you who are looking forward to some erudite variety show, but I don't have anything. I was thinking of talking to you about my love affair with The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, or other books or book series that I have loved, which I've mentioned that from time to time, or other puzzles that I have loved. I created a little video yesterday. It's around 18 minutes or so, for a friend of mine, explaining how to solve Kokoro, which is a pencil puzzle variant. It's not new. It's not a new type of puzzle, but it's one I enjoy. Which I just sent it to her. I gave it an unlisted setting so that she could get to it from a link, but it wasn't public. But I'm going to release it as a public video soon under the moniker of special edition. But it won't have bells and whistles. It won't have pictures on the beginning or thanks for watching or anything like that, because I really only created it for her. And I mentioned her first name in it, but you won't know who that is unless you know my friend set locally. So I did that. I possibly will make a video of that sort about another type of pencil puzzle that I happen to enjoy, that I can do fairly easily. Again, these are not because I think most of you who come here because of the cross stitch are going to be interested, but because some of my friends who don't come here because of the cross stitch are interested in these other topics. So that's that. So what else is going on? Nothing else of note. I will be back next week, I think, on my regular Friday day for making a video, hopefully, Lord willing. And I hope maybe I'll have a airplane quilt to show you, or some blocks in real life. Oh yes, here's my second place ribbon, North Carolina State Fair. By the time I make my next video, the quilt, the commission quilt, will be packed up. I will probably be putting it in the mail before the 10th or so of November. I'm trying to hit a window of opportunity when the person I'm sending it to will be for sure home, able to receive it. And I made a muslin bag, sort of pillowcase type bag, to store that quilt for the people who are receiving it. Now the best way to store a quilt is on a bed. but you can't always do that, I realize. So if you can't do that, then you can fold it up and put it in a closet. It's good to have it in some sort of a cloth bag to keep dust off of it, keep it from getting faded. But you should take it out of the closet and spread it out on a bed every so often and fold it a little differently than it was folded in order to try to minimize having permanent creases put in it. But that's hard to do if you don't have an extra bed to put your quilt on during the season that you're not using it on your own bed. That's nearly impossible, isn't it? Yeah. So I guess that's all. Thanks for listening to my rambling thoughts tonight. I hope that you're enjoying your stitching and your fall weather. And I look forward to returning next week with more to show, hopefully. Thanks for watching, and many blessings to you, friends.